So we're here in my parents' yard, and I'm sitting right next to their Herman's tortoise enclosure. And winter is coming, so we decided on refurbishing this enclosure a little bit and actually digging in a hibernaculum, like a hibernating spot for the tortoises for wintertime. Usually we keep these tortoises in a fridge, but I wanted to try out something more natural, so I'm going to open up this soil area right here. I'm going to get rid of this old thing, and I'm going to try and make a subterranean hibernaculum for them for the winter. So this thing right here is their current hide, so to speak. So they sleep under this thing and they hide under this thing when it gets too hot. But as you can see, it's starting to deteriorate, it's starting to fall down. And also there used to be some succulent plants in here, but it's all gone right now. So let's start by removing this one and clearing up some space to make the hibernaculum. So this is the species we're doing it for, Testudo-hermanni, or the Herman's tortoise, the Greek tortoise, a very well-known tortoise and also very commonly kept as pets here in Europe. And these guys, you know, because they're originating from Southern Europe, they can withstand some of the cold, so an ideal species to make a hibernaculum for. So this thing is going to be the main compartment of the hibernaculum. So it's a very sturdy, like a pond tub. And I'm going to actually dig it into the ground quite deep. And I'm going to make a hole in there so that the animals can get in. That's the basic idea, right? So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to try and find a good spot to dig this in. I'm going to dig the hole and then think about where I want the tunnel to come out so that the animals can easily go in and easily go out of this hibernaculum. I eyeballed where I wanted the hibernaculum to go and figured I wanted it as close to the Trachycarpus as possible. After that, I started digging. So we made the general hole of the hibernaculum. I say we because it's not a one-man job. Bo is behind the camera and he's been helping me digging this hole. But let's see if it's deep enough for our hibernaculum. I'm gonna put it in and let's give it a look. Yeah, it's definitely deep enough. So this is a great depth to have the hibernaculum in, but also to add insulation on the top still. So we need a couple of centimeters to insulate the top and also to make like a little bit of a latch so we can go in and get the tortoises out if a problem may arise. So the hole in the top is made. This hole will be used to add stuff to the hibernaculum, like straw or like leaf litter, stuff like that, so the tortoises can actually dig into those substrates and also take animals out when necessary. I'm going to insulate the top of this so we don't lose heat and there's nothing that can actually go in, but we'll show that to you guys in a minute. Then it was time to start with the tunnel. I decided to angle it towards the previous height of the animals so they would easily find it and recognize it as a safe spot. It needed to be wide and high enough for the largest specimens to easily enter, so I roughly estimated the ideal size and started building. So now I'm making the tunnel out of spare OSB plates that I still had. Now I'm going to protect this from rain. I'm going to protect this from water as well. So I'm going to cover it with a foil before I add soil on the top of this structure. Looks perfect. So this is the foil I'm going to use. It's a bit of a spare foil that I had laying around, and I'm going to use this to cover the top and the sides of the tunnel, and also the extra holes that are actually between the space, basically between the hibernaculum and the tunnel, so there's no extra water or extra debris or soil falling down and maybe hurting the potential tunnel. So the main hibernaculum is in, the tunnel system is also in place. We added the foil on top to protect it. Now it's time to insulate the top of the hibernaculum. So there we go, we quickly fitted some insulation on the top, and we also added a lid. So this will actually go on top of the hole, insulating it a little bit more. We're gonna make sure that it does, that there's no rain and stuff coming in here. And then, we're going to put a large rock on top of this, so I know exactly where the hole is. And that's where we can look at the tortoises and also put some debris or some leaf litter inside. So we're ready with the overall structure. Now let's fill it up, and then let's see how it looks in the end. I used most of the dirt from digging the hibernaculum to fill up the gaps next to the structure first, and then proceeded to put the insulation on top with the cover rock in place. While digging, I noticed I had disturbed some local wildlife sharing the pen with the tortoises. Just found a little alpine newt, a male. He was not too happy with us digging around, but we'll release him in the back here of our ecological pond. After covering everything up, it's time to decorate the entrance to the hibernaculum a bit. I wanted to look naturalistic, but also keep it accessible to the animals. I had some spare slate and rocks laying around, and they fit nicely to what I had in mind. After that, I used the spare dirt to scape the enclosure a bit more. I added some additional rocks and some grass patches, and compacted the soil. Looking pretty good, but still missing some of that Mediterranean feel. I decided to reuse the rocks and pebbles from the planter and spread them around the enclosure. This way they don't go to waste, and it really breaks up the more barren look of the tortoise pen. A quick rinse gave the enclosure a fresh new look. Plus, it also compacted the soil even more to keep everything in place. So as you can see, the hardscape is pretty much done. We dug in the hibernaculum, we have the tunnel going all the way up to here, and this is actually the spot where the hide was before for the tortoises, so they'll pretty much know their way right into the hibernaculum. It's kind of not really exposed as well to wind and to weather conditions, so I think it should be okay. I have to wait and see until winter comes whether or not this is suitable for them. If not, I can always take them out and then after the season readjust everything. But I'm pretty happy with the end result. We used a bit of the soil to make a little bit of an extra insulation here on top, add some topography to the enclosure, and the enclosure looks a lot bigger already, so I'm very, very happy with the result. So the only thing that's left to do is to fill up the hibernaculum with debris and with leaf litter, and then we can release the tortoises again. So as a substrate for the hibernaculum, I'm choosing a bit of mulch, I'm choosing some straw and some varied leaf litter to actually add a very thick layer of a substrate inside where the tortoises can dig into. If they choose so, they can even dig further and deeper down into the ground as well, because everything else is supported, right? So they can even make deeper holes if they choose to do so. So we gave these little guys a bath. Now it's time to put them back into their enclosure, and hopefully they'll find their way into the hibernaculum. We're actually putting them close to the entrance so they can find their way more easily. And then tomorrow, if the sun's out a little bit more, because tomorrow is going to be a better day, and we'll see if they can find their way back out and start basking. For the last couple of days of autumn, and hopefully they'll make it through the winter all right in this new Hibernaculum. I'm very happy, very stoked with the result. Spring is finally here, and I'm super happy to see that all the tortoises came out hibernation just fine. It was a pretty tough winter because the whole enclosure was filled with snow up until one point, but it didn't really matter too much. The animals came out completely fine just a couple of days ago, and they're already out walking around, socializing, eating, so I'm super happy with the results of the Hibernaculum. As you can see, the enclosure looks a lot different than what we left it with in the beginning of winter. It looks a lot more lush. It also looks way more compacted already, so the soil is a lot more dense, which I kind of like. I like the aesthetic, but it's also a lot more secure. The only thing that I really had to change was the top of the ledge right over the entrance to the cave. I had to put a rock there because the tortoises would climb over the ledge and they would drop off. But now with the rock on top, they don't really scale over the rock, so they don't fall off the ledge anymore. And this is an easy solution and a really nice solution to this problem. Other than that, everything functioned really well. We did have some rat activity, but we were living really close to a forest, so I don't think it's anything that we could avoid. But it was very minor, and also the tortoises didn't really have any trouble with that. So I'm not sure if I have to change anything for the next winter time, but as far as things go, at this point, I really enjoyed it, and I really like how everything turned out. So guys, that wraps it up for our Tortoise Hibernaculum video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy this new type of content that we're trying to put out here on our herpetocultural series. And if you did, please let us know, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching.